Hello again to all subscribers and listeners of this channel. This is Obsidian Radio, and this video will be a review of Attack on Titan, Season 3, Episode 2, Pain. And unlike the first episode, this one literally starts out with a bang, or a couple of bangs, and then slows down until we finally get more info about Historia, what's going to happen to Eren, and the Reiss family. So now, let's get to it. My first thoughts on this episode. The first thing that came to mind watching this episode was noticing just how fluid and beautiful the animation was. And again, mind-boggling level of skill that these animators have. They just never get enough credit as far as I'm concerned. The entire fight sequence was golden with great music, moral consequence of fighting other humans, and a lot of tension amongst our main characters. Again, so far, Season 3 is kicking ass. Lots of ass. Love Attack on Titan. So, let's get into the plot. So, we left off episode 1 with Levi and Kenny battling each other on the rooftops. Levi throws his sword, Kenny shoots. They both miss. Levi barely makes it away as he's chased by Kenny and his men into the bar. Kenny follows him there. Bang, bang! Until Levi takes the shopkeeper's gun, blasts Kenny. He's not able to kill Kenny though. He just blasts him out of the bar and then he gets out of there. Kills a couple more of his guys and went on the way out of there too. It's around here that Mikasa tells everyone in Levi's squad what Levi told her. And what he told her to tell them is that he's pretty sure, and he was correct, that from now on, we're not just fighting Titans. From this point forward, we're also going to be fighting other humans. And that's something that was a really big shock and a really big emotional thing for everybody that was told, everybody that's involved in Levi's squad. So we go back to the battle. The battle continues until Eren and Historia are kidnapped. And it's during this wagon scene is when we see some real tensions among the younger scouts. While trying to secure the wagon for Captain Levi, Jean and Armin get into it with the woman who was trying to take over the wagon. She's working for Kenny. She has her gun pointed at Jean. Armin kills her with one shot directly to the back of the head. And just before getting blasted, Sasha and Mikasa pulled Jean and Armin off the wagon as it's taken away with Eren and Historia still on board. Later, we see Levi's wounds being nursed and taken care of. We also see Armin in extreme distress over the fact that he is now a killer. He has another human being's blood on his hands and will never go back to being the same ever again after doing that. Levi comforts Armin and reassures him that this is just part of what has happened now, and this is what they have to do to survive. Later, Levi and Hanji ask the older bald man, who later on is identified as Demo Reeves, some type of salesman. They ask him some questions about his company and why is he working with Kenny? What is this big deal of trying to kidnap Eren and Historia? They don't get much out of him, but they are able to convince him to be on their side as long as they promise to protect him in some type of way. So because of this, they're able to finally capture the military police officer, Sanis, who killed Pastor Nick. They torture Sanis by pulling off his nails. He doesn't release any information, even though he has multiple nails pulled directly off of the nail head, which is insane, but he was able to take it apparently. And he doesn't give them any information about the Reiss family at all. He pledges his loyalty to the military police and whoever else that he's working for. So Hanji and Levi decide to take a break, and in doing so, they actually get another officer to read a script, which they cleverly make sure Sanis can overhear. And when he overhears, this prompts him to tell them the truth about Eren, Historia, the Reiss family, and what may happen to Eren if they don't recapture him. So as soon as they walk back in, he relents all the information once he knows that, okay, I guess the other soldiers, the other military police are not loyal to me the way I've been to them. So, okay. So later, we see Kenny finds out about Demo Reeves' betrayal, and Kenny slits Demo Reeves' throat. not knowing that Demo Reeves' son is actually overseeing this from a distance in a safe place behind a wall somewhere. The episode ends with Historia and Aaron waking up, facing Rod Reiss, Historia's father. He embraces her in the very last scene, or close to the last scene, and that's the episode. Interesting things that I noticed. As always, there's quite a few interesting things. One, as I stated earlier, the very fluid animation of the fight sequence were absolutely splendid. Just great artwork, great animation, great use of CGI and mixed into the animation very beautifully. Second thing I noticed, the subtle behavior of the characters when dealing with emotionally stressful situations. One thing that I like about Attack on Titan is that, yes, there's lots of action, there's lots of explosions, there's lots of craziness in it, but there's also this balancing out those really explosive things with lots of subtle scenes that really show the humanity of all the characters, whether they're a protagonist or an antagonist. Number 3, another example of this more subtle thing that goes on with showing the characterization is when Hanji and Levi are able to convince Sanus to spill the info about Historia and the Reiss family. The position of the characters, the allowing him to hear the conversation, the way he changed his mind, and the way the animation showed all this. All of this was very subtle, but these little scenes did a great job of advancing the story and the motivation of the characters. Very good story writing by Hajime Asayama and very good editing and animation by the Wit Studio and animation team. Just nice, really nice. Subtle, when it's done right, is really nice. And Attack on Titan does subtle very nicely most of the time, almost all the time. Number 4, unlike many other stories, characters in Attack on Titan show a lot more realistic emotional reactions to their own behavior, such as Armin's disgust and fear over the fact that he's now a killer. Again, very nice touch. And number 5, a funny thing that I saw that I really liked. When Kenny first bursts into the bar and he says bang bang, am I the only one that for whatever reason started thinking of Dave Chappelle when he did the Rick Jones skit? No, not Rick James skit. Okay. Yeah. Bang bang. Something about that just reminded me of Dave Chappelle. I thought it was funny. And the voice acting for Kenny's character was really good too. But yeah, Rick James, bitch. Bang bang. So, on to the animation quality. As always, the animation is top notch, on point. Especially now considering that they're animating more humans fighting each other in this very bizarre, unorthodox way with the 3D maneuvering gear. This seems way harder to animate than just regular fight scenes, but the animators do such an awesome job doing it anyway. And it seems like it's a lot harder than drawing the Titans, and it still looks good. So again, season 3 on a completely high level. Love it. Best thing about the episode. A lot of people will assume that it's the actual opening fight scene, and actually I'm not all the way sure. The best thing about this episode, I think, might actually be the more subtle behaviors of the characters and how it was displayed throughout the entirety of the episode. From Armin struggling to accept that he has now killed someone, all the way to the way Hanji and Levi used that other soldier, the other military police guy, to trick Sanus into confessing information about the Reiss family. Those two scenes are good examples of, again, using subtlety, very subtle things to show what the characters are doing, what their motivations are, and how they react to certain situations. Very nicely done. The worst thing about the episode, can't think of anything that was wrong with the episode at all. Nope, nothing. Everything was on point as far as I'm concerned. So, my favorite scene in the episode, it's got to be a toss-up between Levi slicing those two guys on the rooftop after escaping from Kenny, or Armin and Jean's reaction when they fought that one lady on the wagon. It's a toss-up between those two. Because Levi obviously is a badass. But there's also that idea that we have these two teenagers who have now participated in the death of another human. That's a huge deal when you consider the psychology of the characters. That to me is a very, very big deal. And I would put it up there as at least a tie for favorite scene, because it really shows that there's going to be some type of advancement of who these characters are and how they interact with the rest of the story. 1 to 10 score, I'll easily give this about a 9.5 out of 10. There's pretty much nothing wrong with it. I technically should give it a 10 out of 10, but I feel like if I do that too often, then we're going to be overhyping all the episodes. So I give it a 9.5 out of 10. Overall summary. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. The beginning was obviously badass. It kicked a lot of ass. The action teetered. Yeah, pretty much. I'll say maybe halfway, a little before halfway. The action really kind of came down a bit, but that didn't really matter because the storyline was still very good, and because the action petered off a bit, you had a lot more characterization. You had a lot more transition in terms of the psychology and the morality of characters in these less action-packed but more subtle but still very intense scenes. So a lot of it got more nuanced, a lot more realistic, and a lot more touching when it comes to the scenes of multiple different characters. And we gained even more knowledge about the Reiss family and why Eren is so important to the Reiss family. So yes, less action in the second half of the episode, but more characterization and more knowledge of what's going on. Again, everything was just really nice throughout the entire episode from beginning to end. Really good. And that's it for this review. Please like, subscribe, share, and donate to support this channel. You all have a nice day. I'm out. Peace.